What is going on, YouTubeverse? John Stanek from Johnny Radio here, bringing you another Viva La Vinyl classic album review, and it does not get much more classic than this, folks. The 1967 debut smash by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Are You Experienced? Such an amazing record, one of the best debut albums of all time, and I would just dare say one of the best albums of all time, period. So ahead of its time, and just to think that a young James Hendrix, just a year before this came out, was touring the U.S. as a backup guitar player for an R&B band. Just crazy. But, you know, fate works in mysterious ways, and Chaz Chandler, who was in The Animals, one of the best British invasion bands to come out of the mid-'60s, when they disbanded, he said, I want to start managing artists. And I believe he got a hot tip from Keith Richards' girlfriend at the time, and it was Hendrix. She said, you got to check this guy out. He's doing like an amazing version of Hey Joe by Billy Roberts, and of course, was it amazing? And the rest is history. He's like, I have to sign you and manage you, and quickly put this three-piece together, which just, I mean, Hendrix alone is just a force of nature, guitar-wise, performance, songwriting, the whole package. But then you've got Noel Redding on bass and Mitch Mitchell, one of the greatest drummers of all time on drums. This is just a trio of all trios, which at the time Cream was one of their rivals and friends. But I would say the Jimi Hendrix Experience was the better trio, honestly, if not just for Hendrix alone. Because, I mean, man, just look at the songs on this record. I'm just going to name a few. If you're only familiar with his greatest hits, some of these are going to stand out right away. Purple Haze, Manic Depression, Hey Joe, which I mentioned, which is the first song that I ever learned on guitar because I just thought it was so cool. And it has that walking bass line that Hendrix taught to Noel Redding. And then you've got those background vocalists. It just has that eerie vibe to it, which the song is very dark. I mean, he's singing about shooting his old lady that cheated on him. But it's just so majestic. His guitar solo is amazing, and his vocals are so good towards the end of the song when he's really getting into it, saying, they're not going to find me, they're not going to take me away. You know, Hendrix is really an underrated vocalist, especially for this being his debut album. He really gave it his all, and he's not the best vocalist, he's not a Robert Plant, but for what he does, he really pulls it off here. And then you've got The Wind Cries Mary on side B. Just a beautiful ballad with some amazing imagery, the likes of Bob Dylan, and which he was a big Dylan fan, obviously. I mean, just the hairdo, he was trying to, you know, do his version. I think all three of them were of Dylan at the time, but such a great song. Fire, amazing rocker, and Mitch Mitchell's drumming on this is unparalleled. Those fills that he does are just incredible. And then when you really know the musicality of it, the key changes, and everything that goes along with it, so cool. Foxy Lady, I mean, come on, one of his best known hits that just has that fuzzed out tone that kind of introduced heavy metal in a way prior to what Zeppelin would do a couple years later. Just an amazing and such a fun song. Purple Haze, I just kind of skimmed over earlier. As an album opener, you're like, what is this? I can only imagine what this sounded like back in 67 to hear for the first time and hear that octaver effect on the guitar that sounds like, is that even a guitar? It's so high pitched on top of the other guitar. So cool. And again, the imagery of the lyrics where, excuse me while I kiss the sky. It's like, man, you're being introduced to really a whole new genre of music, this psychedelic rock that was unlike anything before. And man, we really lost Hendrix too soon, because really he only had 3 studio albums to his name officially. But luckily, you know, the Jimi Hendrix estate keeps turning out stuff after the fact. And, you know, this original pressing, which is a United States version, only has 11 songs on it. And the UK version had some different songs that this one does not, like Red House, one of the most amazing blues songs of all time, a Hendrix original. And Can You See Me, another great song that's really a greatest hit, in my opinion, was not on the US pressing, but years later on the CD, when it was released in the 90s, it came with all of those songs and the B-sides like Stone Free, which is another amazing song, 51st Anniversary, Remember, all these songs. So it bloated it up to 17 songs in length overall. But man, just this 11 songs, all the songs in between here, even though they may not be quite as good as the hits, are amazing. Like May This Be Love has just such a majestic, beautiful sound. Mitch Mitchell's drumming on the toms really sounds like a waterfall when he's singing about that. A really beautiful track. And then Third Stone from the Sun, beautiful, and way ahead of its time as far as the jazz influence mixed with the rock, mixed with his whatever he's talking about, like pretending to be an alien from another planet. It really sounds like music that landed from another planet. And that's the only way I can really describe this thing overall, and I'm sure that's the way it sounded to many people who were alive during this time. And I often say, it's like, I really missed the boat being born in 1978, because I feel like a kinship with the late 60s and early 70s is really my favorite era of music. And just what a time to be alive. I can only imagine to hear this land from another dimension. And, I didn't even mention Love or Confusion, I Don't Live Today, and of course, Are You Experienced, the title track. Those songs to me are not exactly bad by any means. They obviously didn't have as much of a advanced songwriting as Hendrix would keep getting better and better in that regard. However, it didn't really matter, because a song like Are You Experienced ushered in these different sounds that were just so ahead of its time, like the others, having these reverse tape loops, stuff that the Beatles were doing at the time. And, Hendrix was just in the midst of this great musical revolution of the Beatles, the Stones, Dylan, Cream, and later Led Zeppelin. But man, what a debut album. If I had to give this thing a grade, I couldn't give it a perfect 10 out of 10, but I would definitely give this a 9.5. I mean, it's a masterpiece. It's probably the second best debut album of all time, behind the Paul Butterfield Blues Band from 1965, which is my favorite blues record ever. And that's a whole other story. I've done a review of that. You can check it out on my channel if you like. And on that note, I've done some other Hendrix reviews. We've got top fives every Friday, so much more. And guys, I really appreciate you watching. Let me know in the comments below, what's your favorite track on here? For me, Hey Joe definitely stands out. Man, Purple Haze, Wind Cries Mary. I mean, all the hits, so amazing. Red House, I mean, come on. Hendrix, baby, gotta love it. So thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, Viva La Vinyl. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, all that jazz. Check out some of my other content that you can see on the screen now. Thank you again for supporting Johnny Radio. Take care, and I'll see you soon.